Okay. In our last class, we have studied about microorganisms. If you remember, microorganisms are very minute organisms, small organisms which cannot be seen by the naked eyes. That is, you need the help of microscope to observe these organisms. Hence, they are called as microorganisms. We have seen that microorganisms are found almost in all the ecological stratas, and there are two major types based on their cellular organization. The most primitive form were known as prokaryotic organism, which microorganism which do not have the nuclear membrane, or very few cell membrane membrane bounded cell organelles, okay, are absent in this, and they are mostly unicellular. So these are the prokaryotic organism. Remember, pro means primitive and karyotic, karyon meaning nucleus. So the organisms without nuclear envelope and membrane bounded cell organelles are called as prokaryotic microorganisms, and they are usually unicellular. The second type is called eukaryotic microorganism. Meaning of eu is true, whereas karyon means nucleus. So the microorganism which have well-defined nuclear membrane, they are known as eukaryotic organism. That is, the genetic material lies enclosed within the nuclear envelopes. Hence, they are called as eukaryotic organism. They show presence of membrane-bound cell organelles. They are of two types. Some of them are made up of only single cells, hence are known as unicellular organisms, like Paramecium, amoeba. Okay, then some of them are multicellular organisms, meaning made up of multiple or many cells. Example of this are Daphnias or some of the algae. Now, in our last class, we have studied about lactobacilli bacteria. We have studied that these bacteria are found in milk and they are responsible for fermentation of milk. Okay, what happens? They are anaerobic microorganisms which convert the sugar called lactose present in the milk into lactic acid, and hence, if not boiled for several hours, the milk will convert into the yogurt. Now, for a few hours, this proves to be good, but if continued for longer hours, it will lead into development of the harmful bacteria that's called as Clostridium, which will turn the yogurt into bitter. Okay. Now, in today's session, we are going to learn about the other useful microorganism, one of which is Rhizobium. Rhizobium is also known as symbiotic bacteria. Now, what is symbiotic? Okay, sym means they are living in association, and biotic means two biological entities living together. Okay, in which the relationship is such that both the organisms are benefited together. Okay, means as we have friends, we help our friends and our friends helps us. Similarly, this symbiotic microorganisms forms an association or bonding with the other organism, takes something from that organism, and in return also helps that organism. Now let us study about this in detail. Now, these Rhizobium bacteria, they are found in soil, and they are also known as nitrogen fixers. Now, to carry out their functional abilities, now if we study, take a fenugreek plant or a groundnut plant or a bean plant, any leguminous plant can be taken. This rhizobium will form a symbiotic association only with the leguminous plants. Okay. They infect the roots of the leguminous plants and forms a tumor or a bulb at the roots. As you can see over here, these are the nodules. They are called as nodule, in which the microorganism resides. Okay. Now, to study this, one activity has to be performed in which you can take a fenugreek, groundnut, or any leguminous plant, collect the root of that plant, then you need to sterile it with 3 to 4% solution of hydrogen peroxide. After sterilization, you need to keep it in 70% of ethyl alcohol solution for 4 to 5 minutes. Then clean it with sterile or clean water and take its thin sections. After taking the thin sections, take these thin sections on the slide, stain it with safranin for about 2 to 3 minutes and observe it under the microscope. Now, when placed under the microscope, this is how it is seen. They are actually the pinkish rod-shaped organisms and are called as rhizobium bacteria. Okay, after staining, take this section and observe it under the microscope, and the pinkish rod-shaped bacteria can be seen. Now, what are they? These rhizobia organisms, as you can see in this picture, they live in association with the roots of the plant. See here. Okay, they infect the roots, form the nodules and leaves over there. This is called symbiosis. Okay, symbiosis is a relationship in which both the organisms are benefited. That is, rhizobium gives nitrogen to the plant and plant in turn gives shelter and food that is produced during the process of photosynthesis. Now, what exactly this organism do? Okay, the nitrogen that is available in the atmosphere, it cannot be utilized by plants directly. Okay, so the rhizobium absorbs the atmospheric nitrogen and converts it into nitrate and nitrites. These nitrate and nitrites can be utilized by the plants. Now, why do plants need nitrates and nitrites? So, the plants have whatever enzymes, or you know that the leguminous grains, they are rich in protein. So this protein formation takes place with the help of nitrogen. Nitrogen is the basic component for the formation of this proteinaceous compounds, and hence the leguminous plants needs nitrogen. So the rhizobium traps the atmospheric nitrogen and convert it into nitrates and nitrites that can be consumed by the plants for their growth. Okay. But remember that rhizobium can form the nodules only and only with the help of leguminous plants, which may be beans, sweet pea, soya beans, etc. as their host. And as they provide more amount of nitrogen compounds to the plants. These beans and pulses are also rich in protein. Remember this, okay? Now, how is this rhizobium utilized in the agricultural sector? After harvesting the leguminous plants, crop, the leftover roots and other plants are deliberately dumped in farm soil to maintain its bacterial population. So what is done? Once the leguminous plants are harvested, that is all the grains are taken off, whatever the left out of the harvest is there, it is again dumped in the same soil so that the organism returns back to the soil and the other crops can be helpful by this. Okay, so the growth of other plant is also triggered due to presence of this nitrogen fixing bacteria in the soil. Now, what happens because of this? As the rhizobium fixes the nitrogen, the farmers uses less amount of chemical source of nitrogen, that is chemical fertilizers. And we all know that chemical fertilizers, as they are accumulated in the body of the plants, which moves ahead in the food chain, it becomes harmful to all the other living organisms. So if these biological fertilizers are applied, the dangers of the chemical fertilizers can also be avoided. Other thing, these chemical fertilizers are also costlier. Hence, the farmer spends a lot on the chemical fertilizers if the soil is not rich in nitrogen content. But by the rotational cropping experiment, if the leguminous plants are grown before the other crop, the nitrogen content of the soil enriches, which also enhances the production of the other crop plants. Hence, farmer needs less chemical fertilizers, leading to the reduce in the expenses of the farmer for buying these chemical fertilizers. So farmers just need to plan. They can carry out rotational farming, in which first if they grow rice, then after harvesting rice, they grow rice in rainy season. So after harvesting the rice, they can plant the leguminous plants. These leguminous plants will give the legumes or the pulses and grains. And then because of the rhizobium bacteria forming symbiotic association with these plants, the soil is also enriched by the nitrogen, which is again helpful for the next crop. So this is how a farmer can plan for rotational cultivation and reduce his expenses on the chemical fertilizer, and hence the harmful effect on the environment by using chemical fertilizers can also be reduced. Now, there is a new technology developing in the section of agriculture by the use of rhizobium. The rhizobium bacteria are collected and they are dried and powdered is formed. Okay. Then the seeds of the plants are coated with this rhizobium culture. Okay, that is called as inoculation. Now, once these coated seeds are planted, as you can see, the seeds are coated by the rhizobium culture and they are sowed in the soil. When the seed starts growing and develop the plantlets, as the rhizobiums are present around the seeds, immediately the root will develop the nodules, and hence the rhizobium will start its activity of converting nitrogenous atmospheric nitrogen into nitrate and nitrites that can be utilized by the plants, which lead to healthy and rapid growth of the crop plant. Hence, this is recently used application of the rhizobium, where before sowing the seeds, they are coated by the powder of the or the culture of the rhizobium bacteria, so that good crop production can be achieved. This process is called as rhizobial inoculation. Remember the term rhizobial inoculation. What is it? Before sowing, the seeds are coated with the powder or solution of rhizobium, so that after sowing, as the plantlet grows, the bacteria immediately develops the nodules on the roots, and the growth of the crops can be enhanced by the supply of nitrogen to the plants. This, how does it help? It helps in reduction of use of chemical fertilizer, good productivity of the crop, as well as it saves the environment from the hazardous effects of the harmful chemical fertilizers. Now, the next useful microorganism is yeast. Students, you must have heard about the applications of yeast, usually in bakery industries. So in this chapter, we are going to study about the yeast in detail. To study about this, we need to perform an activity, for which you need a packet of yeast powder that you get in the market, a spoonful of sugar, lukewarm water, one clear plastic bottle, and a balloon. What you have to do is pour this sugar in the warm water, form a solution, add 1 spoon of yeast into this water and stir it properly. After some time, you'll observe that the water starts bubbling. Okay, if you pour this solution in the plastic bottle and put the balloon on the plastic bottle, the balloon will start blowing. Now, why does this happen? Because the yeast are the living organisms which feeds on the sugar present in the solution, and they develop carbon dioxide. This gas starts accumulating, because of which the balloon will blow. See, bring active dry yeast from market, mix a spoonful of yeast, 2 spoonfuls sugar with a sufficient quantity of lukewarm water in a bottle. Fix a colorless transparent balloon on the mouth of that bottle. What changes does it after 10 minutes? Mix lime water with that gas. Collect this lime water in the beaker and observe. Take few drops of this solution on the glass slide and observe it under compound microscope. When you see it under compound microscope, you can see such small, colorless, oval-shaped cells. These oval-shaped cells are called as yeast. You can also see this small outgrowth coming out of these yeast cells. These small round bodies are called as daughter cells. Okay. What are they called? They are called as daughter cells. The small bodies that are growing on the cells are called as daughter cells. See, here you can see the small outgrowth that is growing, this is called as budding. This is a asexual method of reproduction which is observed in few organisms. Okay. So yeast is one of the example for budding, where a small outgrowth is given out from the mother cell. As that outgrowth goes completely, it will separate from the mother cell and develop as an whole organism. These yeasts are heterotrophic fungal microbes that grow on carbon compound. So remember, yeast requires carbon compounds for their proper growth. In our activity, we have used sugar solution. Sugar is rich in the carbon compound, which is utilized by the yeast for their growth. When they are growing, they produce carbon dioxide and alcohol. Okay. Now, what are yeast? Yeast are unicellular fungus with 1500 different species. They are eukaryotic type of cells. Yeast are eukaryotic types of cell. That means they have a proper nucleus with the envelope. In above experiment, yeast grows and multiplies very quickly due to carbon compound in the sugar solution. In this process of obtaining nutrition, yeast cells convert the carbohydrates in the solution and convert into alcohol and carbon dioxide. This is known as fermentation. Remember, it is an anaerobic process in which the yeast cells consumes the sugar that is present in the solution. They develop carbon dioxide gas and alcohol. Now, keep in mind this ability of producing carbon dioxide and alcohol makes yeast helpful organism for humans. Now, let us study how does it helps humans. So I have said it that the yeast are utilized in bakery industries. Now, how are bread made? See, in this you can see the entire technique of the bread development. The ingredients like grains are collected. Grains are collected. It is powdered. Yeast is used and water. These are mixed in a container and kept for 1 hour, 15 minutes to 1 hour for resting. It is mixed properly and kept for rising. After a few time, the flour get raised. Okay. And then whatever shape is needed, you know that in market, different types of breads, different types of cakes are available. So whatever shape you need is given to that flour and it is kept in the oven or in the thermal plant for heating. And this is how fluffy breads are produced. Okay. Now why this bread fluffs off? It is because of the carbon dioxide that is produced by the yeast when it is kept for rising. Okay. The carbon dioxide gets trapped in this flour, because of which you get that fluffy structure to your cakes or the breads. Then, as I have said, while utilizing the sugars in the solution, the yeast also produced alcohol as a byproduct. This is used. Hence, these yeast are also used in the beverage industries, like for wine making, for alcohol preparation and all. Now, what is done in the alcohol or wine industries? Usually, wherever there are the sugar industries, the molasses, that is the waste, when the sugar cane is pressed under the machine, after removing the juice, whatever is the leftover, that is known as molasses. These molasses are finely powdered and they are kept in the container for fermentation process. Some amount of yeast is added to this molasses. That the yeast, variety of yeast that is used in alcohol industry is known as Saccharomyces cerevisiae. What this Saccharomyces cerevisiae does, it feeds on the sugar that is present in the molasses, whatever is present in the molasses. Now, as they start consuming the sugar, they also start multiplying and they produce the carbon dioxide as well as alcohol. That alcohol is collected, then it is filtered, it is processed, it is filtered, and then bottled and sold in the market. Okay. Now, as the primary product, alcohol are produced. First process is called as ethanol, and then ester and other alcohols as the secondary product. Now, spirits and other alcohols can be obtained from the ethanol. Ethanol is also a smokeless and high quality fuel. Beside molasses, maize, barley, and other grains are also used for industrial production of ethanol. Glucose and fructose, the sugars present in grape juice, are also fermented with the help of yeast to produce the alcohol which is used for making wines. Okay, so basically all those grains or fruits in which there is high quantity of sugar that can be utilized for alcohol industry or for wine industries. Now you all know that wine is basically, there are many wineries in the Nashik area of Maharashtra. It is because of the suitable climate for the growth of the grapes as well as for the fermentation process. Whatever temperature is needed is available over there, and hence majority of the wineries are set up in Nashik in Maharashtra. Okay. Now I'll explain this process again. What happens? Whatever is used as a host for these Saccharomyces cerevisiae, it can be molasses, that is the waste obtained after removing the juice of sugarcane. It can be grains like rice, maize, barley, or the other grains, and even fruits like grapes, oranges can also be utilized for this process. The culture of yeast is applied for or is inoculated in the crush of this fruit item. Yeast starts consuming the sugar that is present in this, and because of that process, carbon dioxide is generated and alcohol is generated, which is filtered, bottled, and then marketed as an alcohol or as wines. Remember, ethanol, which is also produced as a byproduct of the fermentation process carried by the yeast, is a very good fuel as it is smokeless. Okay, and hence to reduce the amount of pollution or to control the pollution, nowadays government is also suggesting mixing of this ethanol with the kerosene and petrol or diesel and use it in the vehicles so that less pollution can be generated. Okay. Then some varieties of yeast are also used for bioremediation. Now, what is bioremediation? When the biological entities like yeast or the other bacteria are used for cleaning of the environment, it is called as bioremediation. Many times you must have seen such types of oil spill on the ocean floor, that is on the surface of the water. Even the heavy metals, wherever the uh, metal industries are there, lot of heavy metals are seen dumped in the soil. For cleaning this, use of several types of microorganism is done. That is called as bioremediation. Remember, use of organism for solving the environmental issue is called as bioremediation. Let us study few of the examples of it. Yeast known as Yarovia lipolytica. Lipo means lipid. Lytica means breakdown of lipo, means breakdown of lipids. This Yarovia lipolytica yeast helps in splitting these lipids present on the oil spills that are coming out from the vessels on the ocean floor. It is also used to absorb the toxins that are released during production of palm oils, as well as for absorption of heavy metals and minerals released in this industrial process. So see how much cleaning can be carried out by the use of this. The second variety used is Saccharomyces cerevisiae, is used for absorption of pollutant called arsenic, which is again a heavy metal, and it is highly toxic if it gets accumulated in the groundwater. It gets consumed by the humans along with this water, and which causes lot of problems, health issues as well as genetic issues in the population residing in the area where such pollution is found. So nowadays, a yeast known as Saccharomyces cerevisiae is used for absorption of such pollutants. Bacteria or the yeast variety called as Echinophorax is used for cleaning the ocean floor, that is the oil spills that are found on the ocean floors. Now, let us just revise what we have studied today. We have studied about the two important useful organisms. First was the Rhizobium bacteria, which is found in the soil. It is a nitrogen fixing bacteria. Okay. Now, how does it fixes the bacteria? For that, it needs to form an symbiotic association with a plant, and Rhizobium bacteria can form this symbiotic association only with the leguminous plants. They enter into the roots of the leguminous plants and forms nodules where they reside and multiply. While multiplying and residing in the nodules, this rhizobium absorbs the atmospheric nitrogen, which cannot be utilized by the plants directly. This atmospheric nitrogen is converted into nitrates and nitrites and made available to the plants. In return, the plants provides shelter to the rhizobium, as well as whatever is produced with the help of photosynthesis is also consumed by this rhizobium. So both the organism, that is plant as well as rhizobium, both are helping each other or both are benefited. This type of association is called as symbiotic association. This study has helped the agricultural research units to set up the experiments for increasing the productivity of the farmlands and the crops by utilizing this rhizobium bacteria in the form of powder for coating the seeds, which helps in production of the other plants, as well as whatever the leftover of this leguminous harvest. After harvesting, whatever is left, the roots of these plants, they are cut and again dumped in the same soil to enrich the soil with the rhizobium bacteria, as well as the nitrogen content of the soil is also enriched for the other plants growth. As we know, amino acids, which are the basic component of the proteins, are formed by the nitrogen. Hence, for the proper growth and productivity of the plants, nitrogen is the most essential element. The second type of organism that we have studied today is the yeast, which is actually a small fungus, which is an heterotrophic fungus. It reproduce with the help of a process called as budding, that is just growing the outgrowth which develops into the new organism. This yeast utilizes the sugar that is present in any kind of solution and produces carbon dioxide and alcohol. This process is called as fermentation, producing carbon dioxide and the other products in absence of oxygen, that is called as fermentation. And that is how this study has helped in use of these organisms in the bakery industries or the alcohol industries. We have studied about bioremediation, that is use of biological organisms for the remedy or solution over the ecological problems like the heavy metals, then the cleaning of the ocean floors from the oil spills, as well as absorption of toxins that are produced during various industrial processes with the help of biological organism, that is called as bioremediation. Okay. Now, before I talk about the assignment, I'll just show you the video for your better understanding.
मैडम वीडियो की आवाज नहीं आ रही है।
See, after harvesting, the leftover is again mixed with the soil, that is dumped into the soil, so that the bacterial population in the soil can be maintained. This helps the farmer to be less dependent on the chemical fertilizer for the proper growth of the plants. It also saves the expenses of the farmer which it needs for buying the chemical fertilizers. Recently used technique, that is rhizobial powder, which is inoculated on the seed. So as the plant grows, this rhizobium develops an association with the root and they start their function. Hence, the productivity of the crops can be increased with the help of rhizobium culture. Okay. Next organism is yeast, where, see, the activity conducted is, you have to take 1 spoon of dry yeast, 2 spoon of sugar, lukewarm water, and mix it well. Stir it well. This is called stirring process. Tie a balloon on the nose of the bottle. The balloon starts blowing after a few minutes. This is because of the carbon dioxide that is developed by the yeast during utilization of the sugar that is present in the solution, sugar solution. To study this, you take a lime water and mix it in the balloon. See, it is turning white because of the carbon dioxide that is present in the balloon. If you take few drops of this lime water on the slide, few drops on the slide, put a cover slip and observe it under the microscope. You can see these whitish cells. This whitish dividing or budding cells are called as yeast. See, budding small daughter cells are called as buds. This is a asexual mode of reproduction seen in the yeast. They convert sugar into alcohol and carbon dioxide. This process is called as fermentation. This technique is used in making breads fluffy. The carbon dioxide that is produced by the organism, it gets trapped in the bubble and which makes it fluffy. Tablespoon of salt, 1 spoon of oil, mix it well and the flour is ready. See, the rising is seen. You can see the bubbles also. This is because of the carbon dioxide that is released by the yeast. You can give any shape to this in a mold and then keep it in the oven for cooking. After 40 minutes, you see a fluffy bread. What makes it spongy? The carbon dioxide that is released by the yeast, which gets trapped into the bubble, makes it fluffy. Okay, there is some problem. Now, okay, let us cover with the assignment. Yeast reproduces asexually by the method of budding. Leguminous plants can produce more proteins due to the nitrogen that is present in the soil. What is fermentation? The process in which the microorganism converts sugar into alcohol and carbon dioxide in absence of oxygen is called as fermentation. So by this, we have ended our part of this chapter. Thank you, students, for listening to the lecture quietly. I hope you all understood the concept clearly. If in case you all are having some doubts, we can just clear it now. Ma'am, you can stop the recording. If any students are having any queries, they can ask. Hello?
Madam, it's 11:32 now. So
Yes, students? Anybody is having any doubt? No doubts?